Wannabe film class. Thank you.
I waited like 60 seconds for that, and I still wasn't prepared.
No one ever is. I don't think I am.
No.
Every time it comes out of like, especially when I include that Wannabe film class, because I always think through the opening, and I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I'm doing. It's probably dumb. I probably don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm at least like kind of aware. And then I get halfway through and go, wait, how do I fit the title into this?
Nice. Improv.
Yeah.
Good job.
I am functioning excellently. There's a dog barking outside of this window right now, and I wonder if that's going to be picked up on this mic. Will people hear it? Who knows? Why won't they stop barking? Wow, they're really going for it.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Guess we'll sit here and vibe until they shut up.
Nah.
Okay.
It's an ASMR experience for our audience.
Okay. Yeah, they're in their room with us. You know, there's dogs outside.
They want to be in the room where it happens.
Nice one.
Like Aaron Burr.
Yeah. Whoa, Hamilton reference. I totally didn't catch that. Thank you. Yeah. Got it.
I just want to make sure that you understand. I know you're the less cultured one here.
You don't think I don't know Hamilton? What the fuck?
I know you know Hamilton.
God, my sister's obsessed with it now too. She can't stop listening to it.
Nice.
Not complaining. It's good music. So
it's such good music.
Real good.
Hi, Chloe.
Really good. Hi, Ben.
How you doing?
I'm fantastic.
We haven't done the intro yet.
We haven't.
And we did the song. Yeah.
Yeah. Is this
for audiences. I don't know.
Sure.
This is That Wannabe Film Class, the podcast where we love movies. So each month we choose a theme, and our members bring one movie that fits the theme for us to talk about. Maybe it's a movie they love. Maybe it's a movie they have been dying to see. Maybe it's a movie they just find interesting. As I have already said, I'm Ben Bellevue. Nice to meet you. Hello. And I am joined by my co-host, the supervillain seducer, Chloe Naylor.
Hello. How's it hanging?
And now that we have that out of the way.
Yes.
This month's theme is RomCom movies. And today we're talking about my choice. A choice I'm very excited to talk about. Some Like It Hot, which is the 1959 classic. It's wild. Chloe, how are you feeling? How are you feeling about this movie? What did you know about this movie going into it?
Nothing about it going into it. Until the end, because I recognize the ending. I've seen that before.
Yes, the classic line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The hell for
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that on Tumblr a million times. Like, oh, it's
and then you're
this.
like, oh. That's what we do here. Slowly over time, you just get Tumblr references better, and that's really our only point of existence.
Is it? I don't think it's a good goal to have. Yeah.
Is any goal a good goal to have?
No. Let's
As Parasite says, all plans go badly.
Never make a plan. Wing it.
Never make a plan. I like that.
Parasite's so good.
Parasite is so good. I'm so happy that you've started watching some of the Oscar movies.
I only did that because the Oscars were that day, and I was like, I haven't seen a whole lot of these, so I watched 3 in 24 hours.
Nice. Which have you seen?
Yeah. I saw Parasite, and I saw Jojo Rabbit, and I watched Marriage Story.
Okay, so I know you don't like Marriage Story.
I did not. Nope.
I know you love Parasite.
Loved it. Great.
Don't know what you think about Jojo Rabbit, though. What are your Jojo Rabbit
thoughts? I liked it.
Okay.
I liked that one a lot, too.
Me too.
That was kind of overlooked with all the Parasite hype, but no, I really liked Jojo Rabbit. It was cute. It was funny. Loved Taika Waititi.
It's an Oscar winner now.
It's an Oscar winner now. I wasn't expecting to get emotional over it, but like here we were.
Oh, it hits you.
Oh yeah, it's just like all of a sudden I was like, oh no, I'm sad now. I was laughing at Taika Waititi being Hitler for 2 seconds ago. Now I'm sad. Yes, it's a good movie.
I feel like I was laughing and now I'm sad is kind of your life story.
That is also very true. That is my entire life story. Oh man. Yeah, anyways, so yeah.
It's really good. I'm glad are there any more you want to watch? I know this isn't actually us talking about rom-coms or something like it hot, but the Oscars just happened, so I don't care.
That's true. We gotta get our Oscars talking somewhere.
Now that, like, obviously, I filled in the Oscars episode, so no one got to hear your opinions whatsoever. But also, you hadn't seen much of them.
I hadn't
So now we get to
seen,
hear
like,
your opinions.
any of them.
Yeah.
I don't think. I saw,
And now
like...
you've seen 3.
I've
That's a
seen
solid
3.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think before I only saw, like, the animated ones, some of them. Yeah. Let's
You
see,
saw
what
Star
else?
Wars Rise of Skywalker, which is nominated for visual effects and sound.
That's true. So I saw Endgame too.
There you go.
What else was in that category?
The Irishman, 1917, and I forget what the 5th one is. So I'm assuming, based off of the fact that you've only seen a third of the Oscar nominations, you've not seen The Irishman, you've not seen 1917. So those 2 might be the only ones for you.
Irishman is on my list. It's just 3.5 hours long.
It is very long.
I just need to find time to watch it.
I know some people who liked it a lot more than I did, and I respect their opinions. However, it's not one where I'd be like, you really need to watch this, personally.
The highest recommendation I have is that my mom watched it, and she did not fall asleep. And she will fall asleep at any movie, and every movie.
That's interesting.
Anything she will watch, she will fall asleep. So she watched The Irishman and didn't fall asleep. So I'm like, okay, so this is good.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll have to watch it.
Are you going to see Little Women when you can? Or Knives Out? These are the 2 big
seen it
questions.
Sure, yeah, I'll watch them. I like Florence Pugh. She's in Little Woman. I will watch that
Florence
for her.
Pugh.
I love her.
I love her too.
I actually don't know if I've ever seen anything with her in it. I have watched enough Midsummer clips and video essays that I feel like I've seen Midsummer, but I haven't actually seen Midsummer.
That's fair, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else been going on with you besides your Oscars deep dive, semi-deep dive? Splash around the shallow end, maybe.
I just kind of like dip my toes in, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Movies are out there.
Oh, I've seen Parasite now.
I've seen Parasite. It's a Best Picture winner.
You know Bong Joon-ho? You know subtitles? I can read them.
I can read, guys. That's a development.
Obviously, some people actually can't read subtitles, and for those people, that's totally valid, understandable. But
unless your reason is that you're racist and dumb.
Yeah, no, like subtitle. If you have like a dyslexia or something that makes it hard for you to read subtitles, then that's totally valid.
Oh yeah.
But there's a lot of people who are just like, I don't want to read subtitles because I just want to watch this in English because fuck you guys. That's dumb.
Yeah, then that's dumb. Like,
yeah, there's so many good movies out there that aren't in English.
I know.
Our foreign language month is going to be fun. I'm so excited.
It's going to be interesting. I don't think I have a...
I don't think you do. Yeah, I know what I have.
Did you put Parasite on there?
No, that was Logan.
Was it Logan's? Okay.
Yeah.
I knew I saw it. I'm trying to... Oh, I think I picked one for the anime month. That's what I did.
Because you're a weeb.
Never call me that. Ever.
I absolutely will.
How am I a weeb? There's no.
You've made an anime choice. You've referenced anime. You like giant robots. Yeah, you didn't expect the last one, did you?
I am upset, and I have to leave right now. Bye, Ben. Enjoy the podcast by yourself.
That's fine. I've done it once. I can do it before. I've done it once. I can do it again. That's the sentence.
You know that you nailed it. Good job.
Speaking of which, I'm gonna make sure this is recording at the proper speed. It is fantastic.
Perfect. We don't need that to happen again.
I still don't understand how it happened.
That is so weird, because now you don't know how to prevent it.
I don't know how to prevent it or cause it if I ever want a weird robot voice.
That sucks. That sucks.
Thank you. It's a constant struggle, honestly. For listeners, Chloe just did an L. You're going to hear the sound she made, but you won't actually see it. So it's going to be a very strange moment for you.
Yes.
And now she's holding up a sticky note that says L, but her image is reversed. So it looks like a... I don't know what to compare it to, I guess.
Is this one?
And now her phone's going off because she's a mess.
I am a mess. This is silenced. Oh my god. Okay, I am. Oh, this... Okay.
Amazing.
Interesting. Truly.
I've started making TikToks.
You have.
I have 3
I'm
now.
so proud of you.
Thank you.
So proud of you.
One of them is film based. One of them is video game based, and one of them is I used to not look like this and now I'm hot based. And frankly, I think that's really just a good introduction to me as a person.
You know what? I think you're right.
Thank you.
You hit all the bases. Good job. Proud of
It's
you.
a fun app. It's addictive. I get it. I finally
really
understand
is. Thank you.
Like I always understood you. I didn't always understand you. I have long
And you never
understood
will.
you as that's true. I've long understood your TikTok love as a consumer of TikToks, but now I understand your TikTok love as a creator of TikToks.
Nice. Making plays. Love it.
With all this said,
Oh my god. Anyways.
we're talking, as I've mentioned, about Some Like It Hot. I chose it for many reasons. One, because it's funny as hell. It's real good. Two, because it is a very significant movie in the history of film, of comedies, and of rom-coms. And 3, because I figure, like, if we're going to talk about romantic comedies, we should go back to something old school. And this is classic old school Hollywood. This is, like, taught in film class style Hollywood. I love it. Oh, it's so good. Also, when I was researching this, I was looking at a bunch of other old school movies and, like, thinking about them. There's such good old movies. I'm seeing Casablanca in a couple days.
Nice.
On the big screen for Valentine's Day, and I am pumped.
Nice.
That movie is also amazing. Not funny,
You know what I'm
but
seeing on
amazing.
the big screen on Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I might
Best.
see that as well on Valentine's Day.
Do it, you know. Solidarity, come on, man.
Ava and I have discussed the idea of doing like a matinee screening of Sonic and then hanging out for a couple hours and then gonna go see Casablanca. Just like, you know, those two pillars of
Yeah.
cinema.
Yes, absolutely. Please do that.
We'll see.
That'd be a good
We'll see.
idea.
It's that not paying for a second movie, or it's The Photograph. Those are the 3 options. What if The Photograph's getting good reviews? I should check that first. Anyway,
we're just going
this is
blind.
a side.
Whatever.
This is another tangent.
Anyways, that's true.
The point is, we're here to talk about Some Like It Hot. This movie is directed, written, and produced by Billy Wilder. Are you familiar with Billy Wilder at all?
No.
Many aren't, which is dumb, because many should be. Like, there are classic directors that even if you haven't seen them, you know who they are. Like, you know the name Alfred Hitchcock. You know the name Stanley Kubrick, even if you haven't seen their movies. Presumably. Yeah. Maybe I'm just biased because I'm in film school so much. But Billy Wilder's kind of one of those names that you've heard of his movies, but you haven't heard of him, which is weird because he's amazing. He started his career in German cinema. He was born in Austria-Hungary. He lived in Berlin. He made movies in the 1920s and 1930s. And then he moved out of Berlin because the Nazi party was, you know, taking over, and he was Jewish.
Oh, no. Okay.
Yep. So he left. He moved to France, made a movie there, I believe, which was his directorial debut. And then he came to America, wrote a bunch of movies in America, eventually started directing movies in America as well, which obviously leads us to him being the writer, director, producer of this. Some movies he's made that you might recognize include Double Indemnity, include The Lost Weekend, which is one of only 3 movies to ever win the Cannes Grand Prix Award and win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, the Oscars, to quote Bong Joon-ho, director of Parasite and God Among Men, is a very local award show. So that doesn't really mean that there's probably movies that won the Cannes Award that deserved to win Best Picture, but weren't American and thus didn't. But still, Lost Weekend is one of only 3. The other one includes Marty, a movie I don't know anything about, and Parasite.
Nice.
It's in good company. He also made Sunset Boulevard, which is probably maybe his most well-known movie, at least in name. And finally, he's made many other movies, but he also made The Apartment, which is a Best Picture winner, is the movie that came out, I believe, right after Some Like It Hot, and is amazing. He has 4 films in AFI, the American Film Institute's top 100 U.S. films of the 20th century list. He is number 1 on Vulture's greatest screenwriters of all time list, as chosen by 40 working screenwriters. He is known for focusing on directing actors and emphasizing the story, not detracting from it, which is to say, like, Hitchcock and Kubrick use a lot of cinematography to convey messages and to, like, do interesting things. And he's a lot more about, like, the cinematography will service the story. It will do its job, and it doesn't need to do anything else. He's very much like a writer first, and he's like a director who's good at getting actors to give really good performances, but his focus isn't as much on, like, cinematography techniques. He also opposed the House Un-American Activities Committee. Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay. I have this weird thing in my head where I've learned so much film history that I can no longer remember what... Like, there are certain things where I'm like, yes, I learned that because I know film. But there are other things that are, like, significant within American history, too. And my brain goes, did I learn this in actual history class or film history class? I don't know. So the House Un-American Activities Committee was a committee... Do you know what McCarthyism is?
Yes.
Okay. That's the committee McCarthy ran that was basically like McCarthyism. Okay. And one of the big things McCarthyism did in Hollywood was the Hollywood blacklist, which essentially is like they blacklisted certain writers, directors, and just like other influential people in Hollywood because they accused them of being communists. And a way that this system worked was they'd go to significant people in Hollywood and say, you know everyone here, you must know, like, who's a communist, give us names or we'll call you a communist and we'll blacklist you. So a lot of people, like, turned on their friends and gave their names. I think most of the time it was like one of their friends gave their name on their list because they were forced to, and then someone would come to them and they'd be like, okay, someone named you named people, or we're going to indict you on it, and so on and so forth, until a lot of people got indicted. It was very bad. Yeah.
Sure sounds like it.
Yeah, the 50s were a wild time. But that was one of the big things that Billy Wilder was about politically, which was just he was against that House Un-American Activities Committee and against the Hollywood blacklist. There was a vote in the Directors Guild that was like allowing for a limitation, I believe, to be placed by the Un-American Activities Committee. And he was one of only 2 people that said, fuck that. So shout out to him.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Finally, that was a lot of talk, but he's also, like the 3 big creative forces in this movie, so it doesn't matter. This cast is also pretty stacked. We have, of course, Marilyn Monroe as Sugar Cane Kowalczyk? I don't know. She won a Best Actress Golden Globe for this performance in comedy.
Nice.
And she had also worked previously with Billy Wilder on the movie The 7-Year Itch, which he also wrote and directed. You would know that movie for its very iconic image of Marilyn Monroe in a white dress with the wind blowing up from beneath her.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Wilder didn't expect someone as big as Marilyn Monroe to want the role, and his writing partner, whose name I definitely forgot to put down, also didn't expect it, but she contacted him specifically and said she wanted it, so they were like, well, we can't not give this to Marilyn Monroe.
You can't.
And that's how she got the role. Yeah.
Nice.
Tony Curtis is Joe/Josephine. You might know Tony Curtis best for his work in being the father of Jamie Lee Curtis. I don't mean in a movie. I mean like he's actually Jamie Lee Curtis's dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
It's fun to see how Hollywood's connected.
Yeah.
Because, like, I always assume that actors, like, came up on their own. But a lot of times that's not true. Like,
No.
I just learned that Laura Dern is second generation Hollywood. Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
Not until the Oscars. She was thanking her family. Like, oh, okay.
Oh, so you have, like, family.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Lemmon is Jerry/Daphne. He won a Best Actor Golden Globe for this performance and got a Best Actor nomination for this performance.
Nice.
Joe E. Brown is Osgood Fielding. George Raft is Spats Columbo. Joan Shawley is Sweet Sue. And Dave Barry is Mr. Beanstalk. There's also other performances, of course, but we're not going to list all of them as per usual. Chloe,
Yes.
What happens in this movie?
What does happen in this movie, Ben? It's the year 1929, and we're in Chicago, boys. Shout out to that.
How you feeling? Do you feel seen when they're like, it's too cold?
Yes, I was like, you're right, it is too cold. I was out there like for 40 minutes today walking to and from the bank on Michigan Avenue. It's way too cold out. Yes. Mm-hmm. Anyways, two bros sitting in a cab 2 feet apart with a bouquet of flowers because they are gay.
I mean, the narrative of this movie suggests it's possible.
I mean, you're right. But you know what they say, be great and do crimes, because the police are now after them, and to shoot out, to chase, and oh shit, the casket, it's actually a casket. Police shot right through it and ruined the bottles of alcohol. So like, what the fuck, bro?
I love the gag with the casket alcohol. I love that you just, because like when you first see it, you kind of think, is that blood?
Yeah. It's like, oh.
Uh-huh. Oh,
like,
they're going there.
Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, because I really forgot like what we were doing with this theme. I was like, what month is this? What am I watching?
It's such a great use of the fact that the movie's in black and white. Because if it was in like color, you couldn't pull that gag off.
No, unless it's just like red wine, and then you can't really, but
yeah,
worked out great. Now I have now decided this movie is incredibly sexy because they're in a speakeasy hidden in a funeral home owned by Chicago gangsters. That's great. I love that shit. That's true. Very sexy. And I completely forgot that Prohibition was a thing. So I'm like, oh, okay. History. Yay. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad we're back in the roaring 20s because we need to bring back this aesthetic too. Maybe not banning alcohol, but...
Yeah, I think we can keep the, legal consumption of alcohol.
That, and get rid of the racism, and then I think we're all good.
That too. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we meet our two funny men, Joe and Jerry, who play the sax and bass, yes, respectively. And, everyone's just vibing, and then the police show up, ruin everybody's fun, wah wah. Mm-hmm. Joe and Jerry manage to escape without getting arrested. And they make their way back to their agency to find a new job, since that one's not really gonna work out.
No, it is not. And if you may humor me...
Yes.
We get an introduction to like 3 of the biggest characters in this movie here. And as I did last week, I'm also going to talk about introductions this week. So, like I said, when you are introducing a character, it's important to like get as much of an understanding of them as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. And I think like Spats Columbo, the mobster, is a great example because the first thing you see is like someone accidentally spilled something on him and he's just like, get him out of here. Doesn't even talk. His guys are just like, we know what to do. They're gone.
Yes.
You also see that he's very much a man in control because of him not drinking the alcohol of the establishment, which works very well. But also because he's like, oh, yeah, I got my lawyers. They're right here. And then his lawyers just stand up, which also is just very funny. That's so funny.
That's great.
This movie's so funny.
It is really funny.
And then, of course, with Joe and Jerry, their characters are a bit harder to pin down. They kind of go back and forth in terms of like which of them it is the cautious one versus which one isn't. Mm-hmm. But the way I think that I've best been able to pin them down is like Joe is the big picture guy. He's like always looking for an edge. He's always taking risks. He's always ready to go, but he's like thinking about those risks. And Jerry's like the small picture guy. He's very cautious about doing big things, but in the moment, he's like very reactionary, very like impulsive. Mm-hmm. And we kind of see that with their introduction where Joe is the one saying like, no, we need to spend this money on like rent and stuff. Like we can't spend it on fixing a tooth. But he's also the one saying, but we'll have more money if we gamble it. That's just a good introduction to like how they are. Also, we learn that they're very adaptable, and we learn that they're in debt, which are 2 very important things for what they do with this movie.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. Okay, continue.
Yes. So as they're looking for their new job, I mean, it doesn't go great because there's only one opening for a bass and sax player, and it's an all-girl band. So, whoops, they take an L there. Go and like look for a car, and they accidentally witness a mob killing a rival gang that tipped them off about the speakeasy. So, good job, guys. Talk about wrong timing.
They have some bad luck.
They have some really bad luck. Like, damn, dudes. That sucks, but...
Like, not just found by mobsters. You're found by mobsters who know who you are.
Yeah. Yeah, not great. You should never... No, that's not a thing you want in your life.
Yeah.
No. So, now they'll do whatever it takes to get out of town, and now Joe and Jerry become Josephine and Daphne to join this girl band. Good job, guys. So, as they struggle to walk in heels at the train station, they're passed up by the one and only Marilyn Monroe, who's amazing and beautiful. Her name is Sugar, and that is so cute.
It is cute. Have you ever seen Marilyn Monroe in a movie until now?
I have not.
Neither had I. This is my first introduction to her, and, like, she's really good.
Yeah.
I get it now.
I get it
Like, my entire
now.
life, I grew up being like, not my entire life, I guess, but when everyone was like, oh, Marilyn Monroe was, like, beloved, I was like, she's not unattractive, but, like, it's Hollywood. Everyone's attractive.
Right.
I never
and
understood.
I've only ever seen, like, the pictures of her, with the white dress blowing up and, like, all the pin-up pictures. Like, I've never actually seen her in a movie, heard her talk or anything. But
Yeah. But she's, like, a good actress.
yeah. It makes sense now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I will say, in an interview with, I don't know if it was Billy Wilder specifically, but with someone involved in the process, a lot of people did say that, like, Marilyn Monroe, she had a lot of issues in her personal life, and it seemed like she wasn't entirely there for this movie. So they had to do, like, 50 takes sometimes to get her to say the lines right.
Oh, okay.
So, like, there are struggles in Hollywood, but still, like, she was capable of delivering that performance with the right directing, which is what Billy Wilder is so good at. And also, like, Hollywood fucks with people
True.
emotionally and mentally a lot.
Yeah, I feel so bad.
Yeah.
But, man, yeah.
Not to bring it down at all, but...
No, but anyways. She's the band's lead singer. She plays a ukulele. She also, like, really likes drinking, which is a mood. And she almost gets caught drinking with her flask falls out if she's performing, but the boys claim it as their own, which saves her job. So,
yeah.
Nice. Not entirely horrible human beings.
I like the simplicity of how Jerry does it, too. He's not like, oh, no, I did it. He's just like, can I have my flask back?
Can I have my flask back? Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
He's like, wait
They're
a minute.
really good liars.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
They're such good liars.
Good job. Good job, boys. Let's see. So later that night, Sugar visits Daphne's bunk to thank him for taking the blame for the flask and cuddles up next to him, which makes Jerry want to fucking die. He's a girl. He's like, I'm a girl, and I want to die. Okay. One thing leads to the next, and suddenly all the girls are in the same bunk, and they're all partying, getting alcohol, getting cheese and crackers. It's great. Joe goes to talk with Sugar as she's getting ice, and she tells him she's always had a thing for male saxophone players, but has sworn them off after they've repeatedly broken her heart and left her with the fuzzy end of a lollipop.
Which sounds a lot like the way Joe treats every woman.
Yeah. So, like, okay. Interesting.
But sure, be that guy.
But sure, of
Just
course.
do it again.
Yeah. But she has high hopes. She intends to find a millionaire in Florida with glasses because apparently guys with glasses tend to be more gentle and kind. Ben, can you confirm that?
I feel like I can't because I'm, like, biased by my own perception of myself. I feel like you need someone who knows a guy with glasses very well.
It's like I couldn't even if Logan was here, he has glasses too. Like, man. All I know is glasses, guys.
Would you say that we're gentle as people? Like, our personality, does it convey gentleness?
I'm inclined to say no.
Yeah, so Marilyn Monroe's entire philosophy is falling apart.
It's falling apart there. I get where she's coming from, but...
To be fair, she does say she's not very bright.
That's fine. I love her still. She's valid.
Speaking of which, I totally forgot this.
Huh.
But in terms of introduction of Marilyn Monroe's character, Sugar...
Yeah.
Her character is fairly, like, not one note, but easy to understand. So it's not, like, that complicated of a thing to say. But when we meet her fully meet her in the bathroom, the big takeaways are she's a free spirit. She's not the brightest. She's beautiful, obviously. And as you said, she likes drinking.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, all moods.
Now they get to the hotel.
Yes, they get to the hotel. Joe's like, watch me be the dream man Sugar just described to me. And when they arrive in Miami, he disguises himself as a millionaire named Junior, who is the heir to Shell Oil. Good job, Joe. Thank you for that. You are...
Deception. Here we
Deception.
go.
It's totally gonna get you the girl in the end, right?
It's alarming, like, having seen multiple romantic comedy style movies from this era, this is, I think, one of the, like, better ones in terms of how it handles its deception. But it is alarming how many movies of this era use, like, trick a girl to get with her as its plot line. And it's not even like, okay, have you seen How I Met Your Mother?
No.
Okay. So in How I Met Your Mother, one of the characters, Barney, is like a womanizer, and one of the whole things he does is just constantly lies to women to get them to hook up with him.
Okay.
And it's bad. And in a way, this is better because the character isn't like outright saying like, oh, I'm just trying to like sleep with her and be done. He's like actually building something. But it's also weird because in Barney's case, it's like, yeah, she'll never find out you're lying to her because your end goal is over the next morning. But in these movies, these characters actually pursue something.
Right. Like, they're all getting
and you're just
married
like,
in the end and all that.
Yeah, like, what do you think's gonna happen? Like, she's gonna find out. You can only keep this up for so long.
Right.
Is this just, like, a very elaborate plan to sleep with her once and then bolt? Like, what's happening here?
I just... Don't start your relationships on a lie, people. Oh,
yeah.
It's not great. Not gonna end well.
Unless you're Jerry, then, maybe.
Maybe. On the flip side, there is an actual millionaire named Osgood, and he really likes Daphne. Sorry, Jerry. He keeps rejecting him, but eventually Osgood's like, hey, Daphne, come to dinner on my yacht. And Joe's like, bro, you keep him occupied, I can pretend the yacht is mine to Sugar, because keeping this lie going will totally work out and it's not wrong at all. And this plan is set in motion. Okay, great. Perfect. Good job, gang.
In terms of Osgood's introduction, I think there's a couple really interesting things that Billy Wilder does. Because Osgood's whole thing is that he's basically just like a little creepy, but mostly just like devoted to the idea of Daphne.
Yeah.
And like it's kind of adorable when you get past like the 50s era like entitlement. And yeah, that's still a thing. But when you meet him, you see like the first moment you see him, like actually see him with focus on him, is him looking like lovingly at Daphne. So you immediately see that he's just like struck. He is struck by this woman, quote unquote. But then also when he goes to talk to her, he's like physically lowering himself. He's stepping down the steps. He's bending down to help pick things up. So there's this like clear power dynamic of Daphne to him. And it does a really good job of establishing that like he is basically entirely subservient to what Daphne wants. And that's how he remains throughout the entire movie. And it's dope. That's such good visual storytelling.
Super cute. That's adorable. Oh, man. So, Daphne and Osgood, they tango all night. Junior tells Sugar that his dick hasn't been hard in years and he would marry anyone that could change that. So, yeah, great part there too. Anyways, Joe and Jerry meet back up at the hotel. Jerry tells him that Osgood proposed to Daphne and she said yes. So, when it's revealed that he's actually a man, he'll get a huge settlement after the immediate divorce. And Joe's like, yeah, that's probably maybe not a great idea because he's clearly full of better ones. Right, Joe? Okay.
Yeah, they both make decisions.
Decisions were made. Were they good? Decisions were made.
I would argue the sneak onto this train as women decision was a good one until the mob shows up anyway. Like, from a planning standpoint, that worked functionally. It got them where they needed to be.
True.
Until it distinctly got them to where they didn't need to be.
Exactly, because that hotel is hosting a conference for Friends of Italian Opera. It's actually a cover-up for all the major moms to meet up and have a little chat, all being hosted by Little Bonaparte. Okay. Unfortunately for our boys, the gang from Chicago is there, and what's his name? Spats
Columbo.
Spats Columbo. He isn't an idiot. Recognizes Joe and Jerry, who then realize they gotta fucking go. And they do. Joe, being the lovely man that he is, breaks Sugar's heart, saying he's in an arranged marriage and he has to move to Venezuela, like, right now. Cool, dude. Nice.
Yep.
More lies.
Ongoing lies on ongoing lies.
It's, they'll totally work out in the end, right? So, as the bros hide under a table at the banquet, they once again witness another massacre and now have to evade a different mob boss. Good job. Seriously.
They have such bad luck.
It's horrible.
Like, we didn't
luck.
talk about it, but their escape plan was, let's not use the elevator just in case they spot us. Let's climb down the building. And that plan is what gets them in trouble.
Yeah.
If they had just left like they came, they would have been fine.
They would have been fine, but nope. Men are idiots. All of them.
That's true. That is kind of, in a way, this movie's message.
True. You're right. Men are stupid. So as they're escaping the hotel, Joe sees Sugar on stage, seeing that she will never love again. Mood kisses her, even though he's dressed as Josephine. But she's like, oh, the brain cells are firing. Oh, that's Joe. And oh my god, it's Junior. Oh, okay. And as I'm typing this out, I couldn't think of another name that didn't start with a J. Mm-hmm. Okay, real smart. So...
maybe... In a way, Joe's plan of, like, maintaining the J kind of makes sense. Because if you screw your name up by accident, then it's like... It's easier to explain it away. Like, Josephine makes sense, because if someone's like, oh, hey, Joe, Sophine.
Yeah, or even just Joe. Oh, it's a nickname, right?
It's a nickname, yeah.
That's fair.
And then Jerry comes in and he's like, I'm Daphne. Have fun making sure to get that right, Joe.
Right. Good job. Again, men are idiots.
It's true.
But they're able to convince Osgood to let them onto his yacht, and just as it's leaving, Sugar, launches herself off the stage and jumps aboard just in time. Joe's like, hey, I'm not good enough for you because I'm a liar and a saxophone player, and she's been trying so hard to get away from that, and she'd ended up getting the fuzzy end of the lollipop again. And that's the most correct he's ever been. But she doesn't care. She wants to be with him anyways. They start making out. Okay. Meanwhile, Osgood and Daphne in the front. Jerry lists every reason why they can't be together in an iconic scene I have only seen in pictures and gift sets. Jerry's like, I'm not a natural blonde. Osgood, it doesn't matter. He's a heavy smoker. Don't care. He's a terrible past. He's forgiven. He can never have children. We can adopt some. He's like, fuck it, I'm a man. Osgood's like, well, nobody's perfect. And it ends.
Amazing.
And it's
iconic.
Beautiful. It's so great.
So that's Some Like It Hot. Fun fact about the nobody's perfect line. That was originally a placeholder because Billy Wilder couldn't think of anything better. And he was like, we'll change it eventually. And then the longer it stayed in the script, the more he was like, I think this is perfect.
I think it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. So Chloe.
Yes.
What are your general thoughts about Some Like It Hot? Now we've gone through the whole story. You've seen the movie for the first time.
Yeah.
You've experienced a 1950s rom-com.
It's crazy. I really liked it.
It's so good.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't expecting to like it, but I did.
Did you think you wouldn't like it because it was a 1950s rom-com?
Yes.
In black and white?
Yes.
Trash.
The oldest movies I've seen are, early Disney. So,
there's such good old movies out there, dude.
Yeah, sure. I believe you now.
Yeah. Because Because in a way, there's comedy that just like once you've done it once, you can't do it again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like good, obvious comedy. So if you just go back there, it exists. Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton, hilarious.
Yeah. Great stuff.
So I'm going to go through a couple of my notes, just like that I took as watching the movie because I forgot to mention them as we went.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. So Billy Wilder, when talking about Jack Lemmon, who plays Jerry, said that he's like one of the hardest working actors he knows. And he ended up using Jack Lemmon in later movies as well, including The Apartment, which is the Best Picture winner that he made. And I think it's cool. You can see how, I don't know if he knew how to play bass, but when you watch him playing bass in the movie, he's clearly like actually playing chords.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he like learned it for this movie or if he just was a bass player, but that's cool.
That's pretty.
Because in so many movies, when people play guitar, they're just kind of like grip and strum.
Mm-hmm.
And you see Marilyn Monroe doing that when she's playing the ukulele.
Right.
Like, it's fine. It's serviceable, but it's cool that when you have this like close-up shot of Jack Lemmon, he's like actually making chords. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's dope.
That's pretty dope.
Okay, so you haven't watched a lot of old movies. Movies are shot a lot differently in the past than they are now. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more wide shots. There's a lot less cutting. Sometimes action just kind of happens slower because you aren't doing that cutting. The one that stuck out to me was in the garage when they kill Charlie and his group of friends. Mm-hmm. The way that Spats grabs the gun is kind of slower than I feel like you would see it now. It's a bit more awkward. How do you feel about this shooting style? Like, did it stand out to you? Did it feel weird? Did you just kind of like forget about it after a while?
I just kind of forgot about it. I didn't really like. Well, now you pointed out, yes, it's absolutely way slower because, especially compared to the only blockbusters that I watch, yes, incredibly slow. But I don't mind it. It's nice. You get to breathe.
You do. I really like movies that are shot wide more. Mm-hmm. I wish we got those more. Like the constant cutting between people talking. I'm not saying it's bad, but I don't always need it, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes
a nice wide shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes just letting a shot hold for 10 seconds is nice.
Right.
Also, a note, I gotta hand it to Joe. Like, his plan is shitty, but he is really good at it.
Yeah.
Like, he's alarmingly good at it. The way he plays the beach scene with, like, not overplaying his hand and not, like, coming on too strong is smart. It's shitty. It's skeevy. But on a purely intellectual level,
yes,
he does do it very well.
True. Very true.
I like how almost everyone is a liar in this movie. Like, even Marilyn Monroe's character, Sugar, is like, oh yeah, we're from Vassar. Like, we're impressive.
Yeah.
We matter.
Yeah, totally, right? It's great. Mm-hmm. She's great.
And finally, so when Sweet Sue gets on stage, she tells all the men to calm down. Mm-hmm. And maybe you noticed the line she used. She called them daddies. So here's my question. Did Some Like It Hot originate the term daddy?
Oh, no, I don't... I'm gonna go with no. But I had repressed that line.
I can't. It's stuck in there.
No, I'm gonna forget about it.
That thought process exists.
Let me forget about it.
Okay, we'll see how that goes.
Oh, God.
So, Chloe,
yes.
General questions about the movie. One of my first questions was, do you watch many old movies? Clearly you do not. We've discussed this.
Nope.
Do you think this movie holds up, like, socially and just, like, in terms of movie style? Do you think it holds up?
I mean,
because there's definitely some datedness to it, for sure.
I mean, yes.
How do you feel about that?
I think it holds up. As somebody that purely watches modern films and blockbusters only, I really enjoyed it. So I think that's a win in my book. And I liked it a lot. Humor
it's impressively
holds up.
Funny.
It's still funny. Nothing.
This is my second time watching it.
Okay.
And, like, now that I know the story enough, I can kind of, like, sit back and just appreciate the jokes. The lines are so smart.
Yeah.
Like some of the shit they say, I'm just sitting there, I'm like, how did you think of this?
It's great. I love it. Some good shit.
Sugar has the joke when you meet her where she's like, oh, I come from a musical family. My mom did this and my dad was a conductor. And they're like, oh, where? And she's like, the Baltimore and Ohio. And I'm like, is that a train joke? So I Googled it, and it is. He's a train conductor.
That's funny. Oh my god. Wow. What a great... all little details. It's fantastic.
This movie's also... I mentioned this briefly. It's like... maybe... I want to see if you agree with me. I feel like in a way it's weirdly progressive. Like, on one hand, it is dated in terms of, like, the way the guys lie to the women in their lives. The way that they, like... that Jerry tries to get her drunk in the beginning when they're in the train. There's like definitely shitty behavior that is dated for its time. But it also does kind of play with like gender and sexuality in a way that I wouldn't expect for a movie of that time period.
No way. Especially the end with Osgood finding out that Jerry's Jerry. And he's like, well, it's fine. Like, oh, okay.
It's fine. I don't care.
We just love the person. Okay. I like that.
And even with Jerry, like, when he announces that he's engaged, and Joe is willing, like, you can't. And his reaction isn't like, I mean, I'm just doing it for the money. Eventually he says that, but for a long time, it's kind of just like, why not?
Yeah.
Like, screw it.
YOLO.
I'll be a woman.
Exactly. It's not that bad. But
it's interesting. And like, you only see it briefly, but even just in terms of how women are treated, you do see that perspective sometimes of like Jerry and Joe having to deal with the harassment that women get, and this movie doesn't play it off as like a gag. Like it partly it does, but you still see like Jerry slaps Osgood, and there's like that moment when they're in, or there's the bellhop who's like, oh, I have your room, and they play it as a joke, but like that's terrifying.
It's like, oh my god, right?
Or the mobsters in the elevator, too, where they're like, oh, what room are you in? And then they check the... And, like, yes, obviously we're afraid because we know that these mobsters are, like, dangerous and specifically looking for our protagonists. But that's still terrifying just in terms of, like, if you're a woman, these people who you know are violent just looked at what room you're in. Right. And they said they'll be by. Like...
That's horrifying.
There's an acknowledgement of how shitty and terrifying men can be in this movie. Yeah. And that's interesting.
It is very interesting.
That isn't what I would expect.
Not at all. But it's a nice change of pace.
So obviously this brings us to our first, like, general question. Chloe, what are your 3 favorite scenes from this movie?
Okay. First, I've already mentioned it multiple times. The ending.
The ending is great, yeah.
Whole, whatever, back and forth. It's great. Sugar visiting Daphne, Jerry, in his bunk that first night, and being like, I am a girl, I am a girl, I am a girl. He's like, at one point, he's like, I want to die.
Yep.
Move.
She's like, let me rub your feet, keep you warm. And he's like,
He's like, no. It's so funny. God, great. That part, yes. Also, this is kind of like 2 scenes, but Sugar singing "I Want to Be Loved by You" as Daphne gets hit on from across the room by Osgood, and also her singing how she'll never love again before Josephine gives her a final kiss, which I just think I like Marilyn Monroe's singing, but I also really like those songs. So
that's fair. She's a good singer.
She's a good singer. I've never heard her sing before, I don't think. So
if I have heard her, it's definitely not with me like registering that it's Marilyn Monroe.
Right. Like I've probably heard like impressions and stuff, but now I've heard. And I like them. Also, those songs are in mood, so yes.
I agree with you. I love the final scene, which is, I feel like, fairly obvious. It's a classic for many reasons. Right. In fact, in my research for this, I found out that on the... Where is it? On the Hollywood Reporter, they have a list of the 100 favorite movie lines. And the line "Nobody's Perfect" was number 78 on their list of 100 favorite movie lines, as determined by like people working in Hollywood as well. So it was executives and actors and directors and lawyers and all these people coming together and being like, these are our favorites, and that was categorized.
Nice. Very nice.
Also, on Billy Wilder's grave, it reads, "I'm a writer, but then nobody's perfect."
Aw.
So in his storied career, it seems like this is the line more than anything that sticks with his identity. It's a great scene.
It's really good.
My two favorite scenes, besides that one, are slightly problematic because the whole deception that Joe has with Marilyn Monroe is bad. However, the scene of her meeting him on the beach and the scene of them in the yacht are just so funny. The dynamic of his lies and the way he like says things, the amount of dramatic irony, the amount of times where we as an audience know that what he is saying is really intelligent based on him being the liar that he is brilliant. This movie is littered with dramatic irony, and it's amazing.
It's pretty great.
I'm starting to realize I don't think that comedies use dramatic irony as much as they should.
We need to come back to that. We need to bring it back.
We need to come back with dramatic irony. It works really well.
It really does.
So those are my three favorite scenes. Chloe, who is your favorite? Obviously, normally the question is favorite non-protagonist character. We kind of have two protagonists. So because of that, I'm going to say fuck it. Who's your favorite character regardless?
Sugar.
Of role.
Overall.
I get that. That makes sense.
I've never seen Marilyn Monroe.
Is it because of Marilyn Monroe singing the songs that you connect with so deeply?
Yes, but also like she's like so like soft and cute in this movie. I just kind of want to be her friend.
I get that.
Like I love her. Wow. I'm going to go watch more Marilyn Monroe movies. Yeah. She's very sweet.
I think my favorite character is Jerry. I like how I love his performance. Obviously, it's award winning and it got nominated for an Oscar, so like it's a good performance. I like how he kind of over time becomes more of like Sugar's friend than a guy who's hitting on her, because he starts off with the whole like, oh, like, yeah, come up to the bunk, like let's drink, but by the end it almost feels like he's more Sugar's gal pal than he is. It's great. I dig it.
Yes.
Part of like I said that I love the scene of Joe and Sugar on the beach, but a part of what I love so much about that scene is also seeing Jerry as Daphne, like having fun with the girls and just being one of the girls, and it's fun. It's a fun time.
It is, yeah.
And I like how that character plays with gender norms a lot. It's interesting. It's like not intense by today's standards, but like by that standard in 1959, like good. Yeah. Chloe, do you have any other thoughts about Some Like It Hot before we go on?
Nothing that I haven't already said.
Movies. Spoken like a true critic of the cinematic arts.
That is exactly what I am. Yes, thank you very much.
A woman studied in the immense history of film.
100%. That is me.
It's time for some hot facts.
Ooh.
The hotel that they shot this movie at is the Hotel del Coronado. It is supposed to be based in Florida, as the movie says. It's actually based in San Diego. I drove by it recently.
Oh, shout out to that.
Yeah. It is based on a French film called Fanfares of Love that came out in the 20s or 30s. But the French film wasn't a comedy. So what this movie basically did was take the drama of that movie as an overall narrative and then infuse all the comedy of this movie into it. It is also the mob storyline that this movie was not originally in the French one, but Billy Wilder felt that they needed more of like a driving reason. So basically, when Jerry says, "Oh, they'll pay us, let's go be women," that was the actual plot of the original movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense.
And I already told you that the final line, "Nobody's perfect," is number 78. That moves us on to Reception. This movie was released in 1959, in March, as I said. A lot of things happened for movies in 1959, Chloe. It was a big year for movies.
Do tell. What happened?
Ben-Hur came out. It was the most expensive film ever at the time. costing $15 million, which in today's money is $130 million.
Okay.
Which isn't huge by modern standards. But back then,
yeah,
that was massive.
That sounds, yes. A lot of money.
It also won 11 Academy Awards.
Oh, wow.
It also was the release of 400 Blows at the Cannes Film Festival, which, I don't know if you know anything about 400 Blows. It's a classic film of the French New Wave. And it didn't kick off the French New Wave, but it made the French New Wave, like, popular in the international film scene. Do you know what the French New Wave is?
I have heard of it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is like, the French New Wave is like film history 101, in the sense that film students have heard about it so many times that they're either obsessed with it and the mention of it will make them very excited, or they're fucking tired of it and the mention of it will make them want to throw themselves off a bridge. Okay. It's kind of like Citizen Kane.
All right. That makes me want to throw myself off a bridge. Yes. Okay.
There you go. Yep.
Yes.
So the French New Wave was this style of film that, like, it's complex, and I'm not saying I have a perfect grasp on it, so I'm not going into like every detail. But basically, its focus was a lot more on like cheap production, on character-driven stories, and on messing with like the conventional ideas of what film is. So a very well-known one besides 400 Blows is Breathless. And one of the things that Breathless did, which was kind of interesting, but I also kind of hate, is they couldn't afford enough film to like shoot this whole story that they needed. So the way that the director worked around it was essentially just creating jump cuts in the middle of scenes. So you'd have like two people sitting at a table talking, and it's like a wide shot, and then it would just jump cut to later in the conversation because it saved film. And he was like, it's fine. Like, the story still flows, so we're calling it a stylistic decision, but like in terms of traditional film, you know, having like a actual jump cut in a scene is not something you do. Mm-hmm. Then, like I said, they shot a lot of like cheap stuff. A lot of things were shot in like an apartment for very low money, stuff like that. But it was a very big deal and basically like challenged the idea of what film could be and what film can do. Especially when Hollywood at the time was very dominant, and Hollywood was very, you know, like studio system, camera setups, like you have your sets in the Hollywood backlots and you set up your cameras there and you filmed it, and it was like controlled. Most directors were on contract. A lot of actors were on contract. This was kind of going away by that time, but the French New Wave was definitely, at its inception, a reaction to that kind of stuff.
Nice.
It's interesting. I've yet to see 400 Blows. I need to. I don't like Breathless. My favorite description of Breathless, and Jean-Luc Godard, who directed it and directed a lot of other French New Wave movies, is it's kind of a thing film majors go through. Like, you have your Godard phase where you're like, yeah, Godard, he's messing with like what cinema is, and then you grow out of it and you're like, I respect it, but no.
No, okay.
Again, It's like Citizen Kane. It's like, I respect what you're going for, but no.
God, no. I hate it. Man, that movie.
It's so much.
It's a lot.
We also saw the release of some other movies. The two that I recognize are, like, big movies that I recognize because I've seen them, are Pillow Talk and North by Northwest. Pillow Talk is
my favorite Zayn
very
Malik
similar to
song.
Some Like...
Okay.
It's very similar to Some Like It Hot in the sense that it is also a romantic comedy. Okay. The thing with Pillow Talk is, and I was mentioning that a lot of movies at this time are like, the guy deceives the girl. Mm-hmm. So imagine all of the nuance of Some Like It Hot's deception is just thrown out the window, and it is deeply problematic.
Oh, no. So
Pillow Talk is a funny movie. I'm not denying that. It was like a successful movie. Mm-hmm. The plot is, there's this... So in the past, sometimes when you lived in an apartment, you shared a phone line with like your neighbor in the apartment. Mm-hmm. So if one of you was on the phone, the other person couldn't be on the phone. So if you both picked up your phones, you could like talk to the other person. Okay. So there's this woman, there's this guy, and she hates him because like he always has women over, and she's like, you're a dick to them. You're like rude. You're always on the phone when I need it. You're always like flirting with the next woman that you're going to have a conquest over. She hates him. Okay. He eventually meets her realizes she's beautiful, but she doesn't know who he is.
Okay.
So he's like, I'm going to seduce her, but I can't tell her that I am me. So I'm going to pretend I'm someone else. But then he uses his knowledge from her complaints with him over the phone to skew the situation. Okay. And there are times where like they'll talk to each other on the phone and he's like presenting himself as himself, and he'll be like, oh, this guy is like that you're seeing is probably like the worst. He's probably going to deceive you. So then like when that guy, which is him, does the opposite of what he says he would, then it cements in her mind of like, oh no, this is a good guy. Oh, God. Eventually she finds out, she gets mad at him, they fall in love anyway.
Okay.
And that's like, but it's bad. It's like, it's unearned fall in love anyway.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so those are the movies of 1959.
Nice.
Thank you for coming on this journey with me.
Thank you for taking me on this journey.
You're welcome. Some Like It Hot has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Nice.
Now, admittedly, as it's an old movie, sometimes it's harder to like really judge the Rotten Tomato score, but also it's amazing, so who cares? It's a really
good movie, so yeah.
It's a very good movie. I'm confused on what it made because some reports say it made $14 million domestically on its initial run. And others say it's up to like 40 million worldwide, maybe? So some reports say 40 million without clarifying if it's worldwide or not. Some reports say 14 million. But other reports say it made only like 25 million worldwide. I'm confused. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on.
Who knows?
It made somewhere in that range. Those numbers, when adjusted for inflation, are like 120 at the low end to 356 at the high end.
Nice.
Successful movie. It was made on a budget of 2.9 million. So either way, it made more than enough of its budget back.
Perfect.
It was nominated for many awards at the Oscars, including Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Cinematography, and Best Art Direction. It also won Best Costume Design.
Nice.
It's wild to think about a time where I take it back. I was going to say it's wild to think about a time where the Oscars gave a Best Costume Design award to a non-period piece, and I remember that it was a period piece. So
you're right.
Yeah. Whenever I watch an old movie that is set in its own past, I forget that it's set in its own past. I'm just like, oh yeah, like this is it.
Oh yeah, it's like 1920. Oh, this is 1959. Okay, all right, interesting. Weird.
Oh right, they're talking. It can't be the 20s.
Yeah, that's true. Passage of time is crazy.
It was nominated for Best Film at the BAFTAs, the British Academy of Film and Television Awards, and it won Best Comedy Writing and Best Comedy at the Golden Globes and the WGA Awards.
Okay.
Also, because we can't do trivia, because Logan isn't here, I'm just going to throw a couple other things at you.
Perfect.
Only 3 movies have received 11 Oscars at once. Or no, yes. Only 3 movies have won 11 Oscars. That includes Ben-Hur, as I mentioned, which came out this year. It was the first one to ever win 11 Oscars. I don't know why I keep saying it once. You only have one shot. Right. It was the only movie to win 11 Oscars when it came out. It was followed up by Titanic, which was the second movie to win 11 Oscars. And finally, Lord of the Rings 3, which was the third movie to win 11 Oscars. Because Lord of the Rings is a good movie. Moving on.
I haven't seen any of them. Okay, anyways.
I thought you had seen them. I thought you didn't like them.
Just playing into the bit, I've never seen them.
Why are you the way you are?
Listen, it's really fun to make people mad by saying they're dumb and boring.
Ah.
Great. This is fantastic. I'm going to keep doing it.
The National Film Registry is the United States Film Preservation Board, which is to say that they preserve movies that they deem important. How many Billy Wilder films do you think are in the film registry?
How many has he made?
A lot. I didn't bother counting because it's a lot.
Okay,
This is to say, including him as a writer and as a director.
25.
Wow, you shot so much higher than you should have.
Awesome.
10. He has 10
Damn it, that was what I was thinking. I should have said that.
Damn. See, you're smarter than you give yourself credit for. Sometimes. Occasionally.
It happens once in a while.
The American Film Institute has a list of the top 100 funniest movies. It was made in the year 2000, so only movies before that. So essentially, top 100 funniest movies in the 20th century.
Okay.
Some Like It Hot is on that list. Where do you think it's ranked?
Out of a top 100? I'm going to go upwards of 48. Yeah, sure.
That's such a weirdly specific number.
I don't, it was that or 37. I don't know why those are the numbers that came to my brain.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, you're wrong.
I figured.
It's number 1.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
It is
nice.
AFI's number 1 funniest movie of all time.
Okay. All right.
Or of the 20th century,
The
technically.
20th century. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Nice. Proud of that. Okay.
I'm really sad Logan wasn't here for this part, because I really wanted to see both of you guess way too high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. All right. Very nice. Oh,
Finally,
God.
this brings us to our other games. Chloe, this is a bit of a weird one, because there's not a distinct villain. But it's time for Nailed It with Chloe Naylor, as always. Can you review Spats Columbo's sexiness?
Okay. So, just him, no. Not very sexy. Didn't find him sexy. But the fact that he's a Chicago gangster. Sexiness points, because that's pretty sexy.
So do you feel like you were born in the wrong era? You should have been a Chicago girl in the 1920s pursuing your Chicago gangster dream.
Absolutely, yes. Now that you say that, that's my new dream.
Interesting.
I have a thing for I really like mafia, mob, gangster, whatever, stories and all that shit. It's really cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that is part of why you're into Rafe Adler? Like, does he kind of hit that vibe?
He kind of hits that vibe. 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's very
Because I feel like the majority of villains that I know you're attracted to, a lot of them don't hit that vibe. Like, not just, obviously there's the robots, but does Loki hit that vibe in your mind? Because he is a prince?
I don't know if he does. Rafe definitely does. And I feel
Rafe
like
definitely does. I feel like Felix kind of does. Like, he's not rich, but he's like a mercenary.
He's like a mercenary, yeah. Something about them wanting the money and power and all that.
So you like men who want money, hunt for power, and are willing to stab.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
We're learning so much about you here today.
It's crazy. Nailed It with Naylor. It's just, every week we get a little bit more tidbits about me and how my mind works.
We're really hammering down on you as a person.
That's horrifying. We have to stop this right now, actually.
Get it? Because Nailed It.
Ha
Ha ha ha ha.
God. Terrible. That was bad.
I'm a delight.
You're something.
You know what I am? I'm a host with a question. Chloe,
Oh, boy. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
it's time for executive action. So, the obvious question. If you were an executive with some control over this movie, you wouldn't actually have control over this movie as an executive because it's Billy Wilder and he's going to do what he wants. But let's say you did.
Okay.
What is something you'd want to change about this movie? 1 or 2 things. We got time.
Hey, I don't have 2 things, but see, the only thing is just, it's when he pretends to be the millionaire just to lie to Sugar, but I know that's also kind of central to what's going on.
The comedy?
Yeah, so that's the only thing I got with what I would change, but I also don't want to change that since that's just kind of part of it, I don't.
Yeah. I had similar notes because there's definitely I accept what this movie is for its time. I don't really have complaints about it for a movie of its era.
Right.
But obviously I'm looking at it from a modern perspective, so I'm going to modernize it essentially in terms of its social standing. But like you're saying, yes, it's also like a lot of like two of my favorite scenes come from the comedy of that lie.
Right.
So here's what I think. I think that they should do two things to make that work. Mm-hmm. One, I think that they should spend more time establishing that like Sugar and Joe really do have like a connection, because when she eventually decides to be with him, it's like, you don't know him.
Right.
He's either lying to you about being a woman or lying to you about being rich. Like, we never see them actually connect on a personal level. Mm-hmm. So I would prefer that we saw that. And I think one of like the key moments they could do that is, instead of her saying like, oh, I just love saxophone players, she says something else where he like on an emotional level is interested in her. So yeah. I don't know if it's like she mentioned something that he just like connects with, or like something that they have in common. Mm-hmm. So that would be where I started. And then just like throughout the rest of the movie, I'd give him more emotional moments with her where they're like honest with each other.
Here we go. That's how you fix it.
That's one. Uh-huh. The other thing is, I think I would remove, as funny as it is when Daphne is like, okay, here's what I would do. I would keep that Daphne is obviously attracted to Marilyn Monroe, but I wouldn't make it that like he's initially the one pursuing her. I'd make it more just like, so like if it's simply that she goes into the bunk bed,
yeah,
and like she's still laying next to him, she's still this beautiful woman, she's still like rubbing his feet, he can still have all those moments without being like explicitly pursuing her.
Right.
And the reason I would do that is because I would essentially make Daphne kind of, his entire relationship with her is just that he's her friend. Like, he develops an instant friendship with Sugar, and he's concerned for Sugar. So then I'd give more of a combativeness between Joe and Jerry in relation to, hey, what you're doing is shitty and you shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
And I would also clarify why he goes along with it when he agrees to let him get the yacht, because he goes from saying, oh, you're going to hurt this girl, to being like, oh, this is the plan? Okay, I'll go on this date with Osgood.
Like, yeah, right.
And I'm not saying that I don't believe that. I'm just saying I want to know, like, what Joe has over him. Mm-hmm. So those, like, I think this movie does a lot of interesting things for gender and stuff, and like for sexuality.
For sure.
And as if it just like spent a bit more time examining that and examining their actions, I think their actual actions are pretty much fine to keep. You just need to like challenge them a bit more. Mm-hmm. This has been my pitch.
I love it. All right, as an executive, I'm giving it a green light. Go ahead.
That's all I've ever wanted.
Perfect.
The Chloe Naylor stamp of approval.
Everybody wants that.
So, this brings us to our wrap-up portion. This has been a fairly swift episode.
It has been.
Yeah. Chloe, what are your closing thoughts? Your closing thoughts.
He's got jokes. Are they good jokes?
Something.
But they're jokes. They're something. No, I really liked it. I was going in expecting not to like it, just because I don't watch old movies.
Yep.
But it was very enjoyable.
Old movies are good.
I know that now. Thank you.
Yeah.
I really like Marilyn Monroe. I have never seen her in anything before. Now I'm probably gonna go watch more things that she's been in. Yeah, you opened a whole new door for me. You're welcome. Thank you. Yeah.
I agree with you. I also like this movie a lot. It's not like necessarily probably my favorite rom-com, because I think it's definitely more of like a comedy heavy movie than like a romance heavy movie. The romance is just kind of like a fun factor in it. Mm-hmm. But I think it is very funny. Like, it's got brilliant writing, got brilliant directing, got great performances. Jack Lemmon went on to being like a go-to actor for Billy Wilder for a reason, because he's phenomenal in this. Marilyn Monroe's great. I finally understand, like you said, why she was such a big deal. Mm-hmm. It's really cool. I enjoy this movie a lot.
Yeah, good shit.
If people liked this movie, Chloe, do you have any recommendations for other movies they may want to watch?
I saw that in the doc and I was like,
you have no idea?
I have no idea. I got nothing. So I want you to tell me.
Okay. So in terms of comedy. This is a very easy recommendation because it's also a Billy Wilder movie, and it came out right after this movie, and it also stars Jack Lemmon. But The Apartment's really good.
Okay.
The Apartment is really good. It's probably more like, you could probably argue it's more of like a straight romantic comedy than this movie is.
Okay.
Getting outside of this, it's harder because I also don't know old movies as well, especially like old comedies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So romantically, Casablanca, I already mentioned it, but Casablanca slaps. Casablanca is so good. Watch Casablanca. When I was researching this movie, the list of like top 100 movie lines had subsections, and one of the subsections was like top 10 romantic lines in movies. Mm-hmm. The top 3 were all Casablanca lines.
Wow.
Yeah. Casablanca is some romantic ass shit.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So those are 2 that I recommend. In terms of interesting character-driven wide shot movies, Dog Day Afternoon, starring a young Al Pacino.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Very good. It's about Al Pacino, it's based on a true story. Mm-hmm. Al Pacino is a bank robber, and the entirety of the movie takes place in him in the bank as he's like holding people hostage with his partner. And then there's like the people outside who are also, trying to break in and everything. Not break in, like the cops, they're trying to get in. They're trying to be like, hey, stop this. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So based on true story, but like Al Pacino plays a gay man, this is a 70s movie. So like that's starting to be accepted more. We've had the hippie movement, but it's still not like super accepted. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of dealing with like the struggles and pressures that are put on people by like society for their sexuality back then. So in terms of like old movies that deal with sexuality, in terms of old movies that use long, like wide shots a lot, Sidney Lumet is the director, and he's phenomenal. Great actor's director. Dog Day Afternoon. That's my recommendation. Definitely not a comedy. Definitely not a funny movie.
Okay.
But Dog Day Afternoon.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Next week, we will be back with Logan's pick for movies. We're talking about The Big Sick, which he has not seen yet, but I'm very excited for. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Ooh, it's fun.
Interesting.
It's a fun movie. Do you know much about it?
Is Kumail in it?
Kumail Nanjiani's in it.
That's all I know about it.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple fun details about it because it's interesting. Mm-hmm. Kumail Nanjiani's in it. His wife is one of the co-writers.
Okay.
Now, his wife is not a writer, naturally. She is a psychologist.
Interesting.
The reason she's one of the co-writers on this movie, though, is because it's about Kumail Nanjiani and her story.
Oh.
Like, it's based on their life.
Huh.
Do you know why it's called The Big Sick?
No.
Because she falls into a coma.
Oh.
And it's based on their life.
Oh my god.
Where she fell into a coma.
That sounds tragic, and I'm in.
Yep, there we go.
Cool.
I thought you'd like that. I thought that'd tickle your, like, fun comedy, but also, like, love is awful and everything sucks.
Love is awful, and it always ends in tragedy. Hell yeah, let's do it.
Let's fucking go, boys.
Thank you.
Chloe.
Yes.
Before we go, I have a question for you.
I might have an answer.
What is one cool thing you have done or seen this week?
We already talked about it at the beginning, but have y'all seen Parasite? Have y'all seen Parasite?
Parasite's so good.
It's so good, guys.
Can we just talk about the fact that... Okay, have you seen other Bong Joon-ho movies?
I haven't, but I also didn't realize that he had done a lot of things. Like, I didn't realize he did... Because I've heard of The Host, and I've heard of Snowpiercer. Okay. I haven't actually seen them all the way through, but I've seen, like, bits and pieces of both.
I'm kind of surprised you haven't seen Snowpiercer.
I'm surprised, too. I'm sure, like, that's definitely a dad movie. Like, I've seen my dad watch that on TV, and I've seen, like, bits and pieces, but, like, I haven't watched it all the way through.
Okay.
But,
have you seen Okja?
No, but that's on my list because
Really?
Jake Gyllenhaal is in it. I
just assumed you had seen Okja.
It's there because I'm going through all of Jake Gyllenhaal's filmography, it's there. And that's the other one I didn't really see was
he's really good in it. A little over the top, but like good.
Like I heard it's one of his more creepy roles, but that's fine. I still love him.
It is, but it's not creepy in like the typical sense. Because Jake Gyllenhaal has creepy roles where it's like Nightcrawler, where he's like inherently creepy. Admittedly, I've only seen Ocho once, and it was when it came out, so maybe I'm misremembering. But the way I remember his performance in this is more just like disconcertingly like peppy.
Okay. You know, I've got a scale of like Jake Gyllenhaal in my head. It goes like from like Nightcrawler to like I don't really know, Prisoners. Something where he's not insane, and he's like a normal dude. So this is like an insanity scale. I think that's what it is. Yeah. Okay. So like. Interesting. Yeah. I think that works. Like something like Velvet Buzzsaw is like in the middle because he's just weird, but he's also somewhat normal. You know. I like how we can't talk movies like in depth with you usually. Yeah. But then we're like, so Jake Gyllenhaal, and you're like, right. So there's a slider of his insanity. Velvet Buzzsaw is the middle point of that slider because there's this detail, but there's also this detail. Listen, I have very limited movie knowledge, but the limited knowledge I have is very in depth. Beautiful. Yes. I also rewatched Parasite recently. That was super cool. Love Parasite. It's really cool. I watched the Oscars, as you know, because I tweeted about it incessantly. I saw Birds of Prey. That's what I saw. Oh, yeah, I just saw it yesterday, too. Chloe, it's so good. It's really good. I'm glad you liked it. Oh, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I hated the breaking bones parts, but other than that, fantastic movie. Interesting. Because I can't handle that. I thought it was fun. I thought it was all fun. It is really fun. Ian described it as the best video game movie he's ever seen. I don't agree with that, but I see his argument that it's a video game movie. Okay, interesting. I saw your, like, the Venmo notification where, like, you charged him for best video game movie. I was like, what movie is that? Now I have my answer. Okay. You're like, did they say Sonic already? It's like, you guys went ahead and saw it? Damn it. Okay, all right. Interesting. Perfect. Great movie. Go see Birds of Prey, guys. It's a bop. Please go see Birds of Prey. It is a bop. It's a... I get what you did there. Okay. Big brain place. We both have bad comedy. It's fine. It's fine. That's why this podcast works. Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie gives such a good Harley Quinn performance. She's really good. I really like her as Harley. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think because I've only seen Suicide Squad once when it was in theaters, and then I blocked it out immediately. Yeah. I forgot how good she is in that role. She's like the only good part of that movie. I love her in that role. Yeah. A lot of the characters in this movie, like Black Canary in this movie. Yes. I love her. I love her so much. I know I've seen a lot of tweets talking about Huntress, and I get it. I enjoy Huntress. Of course. I'm in love with Black Canary in this movie. She's just... It's valid. She's so cool. After 8 seasons of Arrow stumbling to figure out how to make Black Canary work. They could not figure her out. That killed me. What's sad is they kind of did with Sarah. Like, they kind of had the perfect Black Canary with Sarah, and, like, it wasn't entirely canonically accurate to the comics, because, like, Laurel's there. Right. But Sarah was so good as Canary. God, that show was just weird. And then they yeeted her. Multiple times. So many people die in that show, and then come back, and then die, and then come back, and then die, and then, you know. And then become time travelers. And that's... the show lost me. Yeah. To be fair, Legends of Tomorrow, quite good. Okay. But I do miss old school Sarah. True. Yeah. So Birds of Prey is my thing. Birds of Prey is the cool thing I saw this week. Nice. Besides seeing Parasite win the best Oscar, because I lost my shit. Oh my god, I actually yelled. I was like, yes. I have friends who were at a movie screening party, or like an Oscar screening party in Los Angeles, and multiple of them had videos of them all just like sitting there, this living room packed of like 20 film nerds, maybe more, all anxiously waiting for the announcement. And then Jane Fonda does that pause, and then she's like, Parasite, and the entire room just erupts. Cannot believe... I'm so incredibly happy that won Best Picture. I can't believe it. I was like, oh wow, movie not in English with no white people in it won Best Picture. Like, I know I said I want Little Women to win. I know I made a TikTok saying I want Little Women to win. I still would have been very happy if Little Women did win. But Parasite was definitely my other choice.
And just like for the sheer, like I think it's a very good, very valid choice. I think that Little Women was a personal choice for me, and I fully understand people saying that Parasite's the best picture.
Yeah.
And just for the fact that it's like, it's a South Korean movie, it's a fucking genre film, which also doesn't win Best Picture that often.
Yeah. So good.
And Bong Joon-ho now has 4 Oscars in one night, which makes him the first person since Walt Disney in 1957, I think, to win that many in one shot.
That good for him.
It's the age of Joon-ho now.
Yes.
Disney is dead.
You were talking about this in the Discord before. Bong Joon-ho land. It's gonna happen.
Bong Joon-ho land. I'm kind of debating writing up an entire article that's just my pitch for like Bong Joon-ho land. Each area has a different Bong Joon-ho movie that I've seen.
Do that. Thank you.
So the center of it's Parasite.
Okay.
The house is the castle.
Okay.
Right. It's got some of the better food at the park. You got like peaches, peach-based dishes.
Yes.
You have ramdon, of course. You have things like that. It's like relatively nice because some of the other parts of the park are going to be more like shitty because his movies deal with a lot of, you know, dark shit.
Yeah.
So, but because the park's the center, you have to go through that to get to the bad stuff. So that's like kind of representative of like the underground. Also, 2 rides, a basement escape room, and, which I realize isn't really a ride, but like an experience, whatever, and a log ride in the flooding neighborhood.
Interesting. Okay.
These are I'm not a amusement ride designer, but these are my thoughts.
Listen, there should also be a Snowpiercer roller coaster.
There will be.
Good.
That's part of it.
And also another roller coaster you get chased by the host monster. Thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
I also just think that like, as someone who loves Halloween Horror Nights, the host section will be very cool.
Nice.
Now I think you'll like the Okja one.
Okay.
Because the Okja will have a lot of features. I'm not going to get into that. But the important detail is there'll be a person walking around the Okja area at all times as Jake Gyllenhaal's character.
Oh my god, okay.
The person playing Jake Gyllenhaal's character will, of course, be Jake Gyllenhaal. This is his job now. He's just always here.
Yes! Oh my god, I can't believe I'm never leaving this park. I live there now.
Congrats on your move to South Korea. This is where it will be. Unless we just tear down Disneyland. Should we just tear down Disneyland and build Joon-ho Land on its shattered corpse?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep, we're doing it.
Yeah, this might be the move.
That's the move.
Okay.
That's what we're doing. Perfect.
Anyone listening who's thinking, Ben, isn't a lot of Bong Joon-ho's movies kind of a commentary on, like, capitalism and the exact kind of things that a theme park represent? Yes.
Yeah.
Am I ignoring that for the sake of this joke? Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, Chloe, this has been That Wannabe Film Class.
Yes.
Where can people find you?
People can find me everywhere at Echo Chloe. That's Echo Chloe on Twitter, Instagram. I stream on Twitch, all that good shit. I post my Letterboxd reviews for all these movies I watch, especially this past weekend where I watched like 4 different movies, which is the most I will have ever done. That's crazy.
A wild ride for you.
A wild ride for me. So many movies. I went like last year, like 5 months without seeing a single movie. Now I'm watching like...
Please watch Knives Out.
I will as soon as it becomes available somewhere.
It made Enki like movies.
Whoa!
Did you not know that?
No!
Her Letterboxd review is, I think this movie made me respect film more and understand why people like it so much.
Wow! Enki, of all people. Okay, alright. You got me. Alright, I'll watch it.
She said she's replacing me on this podcast because of watching Knives Out.
Sorry to let you go.
I mean, as you know, my only identity is that I like Rian Johnson.
Of course.
So if you just get anyone else who has that same affinity,
basically the same thing, right?
It's the same thing.
You find any other girl that likes robots and General Grievous, that's you can replace me.
That's all you need. Yeah.
Exactly. So
this is why Logan is an enigma. Because if you can't pin him down, he can't be replaced.
He doesn't have a brand. Yes.
Brilliant.
Wow.
Oh, also, that reminds me. Logan cannot be here, as you know, but he did send me an important message And that important message is Parasite's good, guys.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Real good.
If you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at Mr_BentoBox. You can also find me everywhere else at Mr. Bento Box. That includes Instagram, Letterboxd, and now TikTok.
Nice. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. Will I keep updating it with new videos? We'll see.
Please do.
We'll find out. You know what I learned? Like my first big lesson from going on TikTok? I made 3 videos of varying effort. One was like creative but low effort. It's just me walking into the camera without any editing. Okay. The second one, that was the Little Women one. You saw it.
Yes.
The second one was the Final Fantasy VII one, which required way more work than it was worth. But it was the only way I could think to make the joke, so I made it.
Nice.
The third one was arguably the lowest effort because it was just photos
just put them in
set to a merge montage with music playing over it. Yeah. The only effort that went into it was finding the photos and timing the music.
Nice.
And it made like 3 times the viewership numbers of the other ones, and I think 10 times the likes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
It blew up way more than everything else.
Nice. That's valid.
I've now learned to just put no effort into TikTok and see what happens.
That's exactly what you should do. Yeah.
Good to know. We're learning things on a daily basis, folks.
Of course. Put no effort in anything, don't make any plans.
The Parasite mantra.
Exactly.
I still love the irony that that movie was intricately planned, extremely detailed, timed to the millisecond, and it's not its core ethos, but a significant theme and message in that movie is, hey, plans go to hell. So maybe just don't.
Just don't. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's fine.
This is fine.
Totally.
Guys, if you like this podcast, you can rate us on iTunes. You can review us on iTunes, and you can subscribe to us on whichever platform you prefer. We're on YouTube. We're on Spotify. We're on iTunes. This is also part of That Nerdy Site. You can find all of That Nerdy Site stuff, articles, other podcasts, so on and so forth at thatnerdysite.com. And you can support That Nerdy Site at patreon.com/thatnerdysite. That's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle.
Crazy.
Remember, guys, at the Independent Spirit Awards, the Film Independent Spirit Awards, if we want to use the full title, Best Picture went to a movie made in America that is predominantly in Mandarin. And at the Oscars, Best Picture went to a South Korean film in Korean. Thank fucking Christ.
Thank God. There's hope.
Honestly, like, as we talked about this in this episode, the French New Wave happened in the 50s, and it's significant. And it's like, my mom called my grandma after the Oscars, and my grandma was like, oh, like, what won the Best Picture? My mom was like, oh, this movie Parasite, it's like South Korean. My grandma was like, oh, isn't that like, but like, what won Best American Film? And I'm like, no, that's not what that category is. No. Like, I get why you think that, but no.
Right, but no, it's, yeah.
There's so many good movies out there.
It's true.
Chloe, this has been fun.
It has been a lot of fun.